Larry Goldberg is here as usual on a beautiful Monday, Larry. Stock was up, I don't know, 7% or something. Tesla stock, I mean. What did it end up?
Well,
Hey, hey, hey.
today's Friday, it'll be up. Monday, it'll be down. Right,
No,
Tuesday,
today's Monday, Larry. Today's Monday.
amazing how quickly the weekend goes.
It's, it's Monday, up almost 7%. So you're right. Who knows? Some wags on X think that it goes up on Monday and down on Tuesday. We'll see. We'll see. Anything could happen. But the bigger story right now, and the one I want to spend almost all of our time talking about, is the question of whether AI is in a bubble. And maybe more specifically, is NVIDIA going to see margin compression and way flatter sales increases anytime soon? Because today, NVIDIA was flat as the rest of the market went up nicely. And the companies that were more at the edge, more consumer facing, are facing enterprises like Apple and Google went up nicely today, very nicely. But Nvidia stayed flat. So I'm wondering if that's what the markets are seeing right now, worried about. I want to dig into more detail on this, but let's start there. What is your thinking about that?
Well, there's no doubt that Nvidia's growth is going to be more measured than it has been in the past. But then its stock price, in relation to its earnings, is more measured than it has been in the past. I mean, the stock price has flattened somewhat significantly over the last 3 months. But the profits just keep soaring and are going to continue soaring into the coming couple of months, a couple of quarters, excuse me, a couple of quarters. I mean, the very best analysis of NVIDIA is done by AJ. It's the very best. And, I'm a subscriber. And so
Right.
anybody who's a subscriber can go and see AJ's analysis. And it's very clear that NVIDIA is on a sprint. They're not at the end of the sprint. They're not even at the middle of the sprint. There's quite a ways to go. I don't want to talk his numbers on
Sure.
YouTube, but the theme is that it's only just begun.
Mhm.
And we have only seen 2 quarters, I think, of the latest chip. They're delivering new chips every year, at most 18 months. There is a long way to go for this cycle in terms of the hardware cycle for AI. Probably another 2, 3 generations at least to go, each generation bringing added value. In short, I'm a NVIDIA bull, and I think the market. I think the market definitely choked on AI last week. I think you're a little bit behind the curve. I think what we're seeing is we're coming out of that choke point. We're not in a, uh, popping of the bubble situation. I think the shorts are going to get badly burned, and that's it.
All right.
Now, having said all of that,
Yep, yep.
there are going to emerge winners in a category that's other than large language models or large models. There are going to be winners in application systems that I won't even call them applications. Won't even call them application systems, but in applied AI.
Mhm.
And applied AI is not going to come in, some kind of classic software system. Applied AI is going to come in unique devices, unique functionality, unique approaches to both hardware and software and systems that is going to be enabled by all of the above, by the large models, by, I mean, Tesla FSD is a classic example of such a thing. It's not a software, it's not a hardware, it's a new product. It's different. It, does not, I mean, they do sell it as an add-on to the hardware, but the CyberCab is a pure product evocation of this new world that we're in. Optimus is a pure product evocation of this world we're in. And we're going to see many of these new products arise because of this new capability, this new sentience that we can infuse things with. And so we're going to see many new winners in those categories. So no, we're not in a bubble. The bubble hasn't even yet begun. We're going to be shocked by what's coming.
So is there any limit to the amount of inference that we will be able to use in a way that still results in a return on investment? This is another thing.
There's no limit.
This is another thing.
No limit.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of my whole lecture. There's no limit. I mean, we are just at the beginning. We're not even, look, if it's 1998 in the world of the World Wide Web, as far as, artificial intelligence is concerned, or this whole category that we're talking about, then just think about the web in 1998 and think about it in 2025. We're 27 years on. It is unrecognizable. What happened is unrecognizable from 1998. And the collapse in 2000 had nothing to do with the World Wide Web. It had nothing to do with the build out of massive amounts of fiber that were being unused. It had everything to do with, the short-term thinking, the stupid business of funding websites that didn't even exist, that had no business model at all, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
And so, pouring money into AI apps is probably the sort of analog. So if you're funding a big AI app, or you're buying the latest, and there haven't even been public, public flotations of these AI, of any AI app. Now there's a lot of money flowing into not private equity, into venture capital. There's a lot of money flowing into private equity as well, which I don't hold with, but there's a lot of money flowing into, AI apps, a lot of money. There's a measured amount of money flowing into AI apps. That's kind of pointless. I don't think the AI apps that are being developed today are of much moment. But when you get to the bots, when you get to the FSD, when you get to these profound new products, that's a whole different ballgame. And, today OpenAI mentioned that they are 2 years away from release of their device. That may or may not be very important.
Right.
That may be a pointless exercise. But believe me, the revolution in inference has only just begun. I mean, I make that point in the chapter of our book, that, we are just at the very, 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 very earliest stages. And you only have to look at what Tesla is doing with their AI5 and then the AI6. And they're talking about a new chip every 12 months. Right. Well, that may just be Tesla talk. It may be every 24 months. But that's like 4 times the rate we've seen going before. And that's the rate at which NVIDIA is generating these general purpose, these general use chips. And
yeah, yeah.
That we've only just begun.
Okay.
I mean, in short.
Yeah. So let me ask the question a slightly different way. I think there's a limit to what people, individual people, will need or want, even if it's free. We only have so many days, so many hours in the day to be entertained, to be educated, to play video games. And many, many people that I know, that you know, including maybe you and me, have already reached their level of spending that makes them feel satisfied. And the rest is just used for various kinds of savings or investments. It might be jewelry, it might be land, it might be stocks, it might be venture capital, it might be, all kinds of things, artwork. But ultimately, it's all investments once you reach a certain satiation. And for every human, that's different. Some people are satiated in terms of their wants and their needs at a much lower level. But if that happens, if we get up to a place where the world is run out of both the things that they need made out of atoms and the things that they need in terms of services by the bots or by robotaxis or whatever, if we get to that level, does that then shut off the experiment?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not even beginning, because, look at these books behind me. You sound like somebody in the days of the very early press is saying, nobody's going to have many more than 20 pamphlets or 100 pamphlets. How many pamphlets can you read? I mean, really, seriously. I mean, I've got 100 pamphlets in my library of pamphlets. I'm not going to have any more printed. There are enough printing presses in the world. I mean, I don't know anybody who actually admits to having, quote, enough. Elon Musk is purportedly worth, or at least they publish his so-called net worth of $450, $500 million, billion dollars, 500 billion.
Right, 500 billion, right.
But he hasn't even begun building his companies. He hasn't got, quote, enough. You've just published a book. Mm-hmm. You've got enough. What the F are you publishing a book for? You've got enough.
Yeah.
Why are you making this program? Why are you making this? Come on, you've got enough. Nobody's got enough. Human spirit, the human spirit rises. There is no limit to that rise. And now AI is I was going to use embodiment, but people misunderstand the word embodiment. AI is the representation of our intellectual ambitions. And so there's never enough. So no, it's not going to, we're not going to have enough. Enough is not something that, enough is a word in the human discourse that has no limit.
Okay. So I think you've already answered this question, but I have to ask it because I wrote it down. I don't know. So we get to some limits in terms of our needs and our wants. Okay. I mean, so there's a difference, Larry, between, I'm not going to be buying any more furniture or refrigerators, or I got exactly what I want to eat every single day. I'm not going to build onto the house. I'm pretty much limited out now on things. My experiences are good. I go to Hawaii for a month. Maybe we'll double that and go 2 months. My experiences are good. I've got the television. How much bigger does it need to be? But then your point is the human spirit and all the opportunities like you and I are still doing at our ancient of days ages, that we're still participating, we're still excited, and we're still trying to make something useful, purposeful, etc. But at some point, the whole culture might decide that adventures like going to Mars or exploring the oceans, we've even kind of done that to death. Is there a chance that the human spirit does have a limit?
No, we have to go. Exploring the solar system is such a challenge. It's a challenge the likes of which the human spirit has not, you know, even begun to contemplate.
Okay,
We can't even reach 1% of the speed of sound, speed of light. And we have to achieve the speed of light in order to explore the universe. How the hell are we going to do that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, there's no limit. I mean, when you think about reaching that speed and you think about the technologies and the physics that go into that and transmitting our spirit across those, light years, then you realize that we haven't even begun. As maybe, the accumulation of, physical goods and services, physical goods will reach a limit. Maybe, but the human spirit still prevails. The human spirit still wants to reach, across the galaxies. The humans, and from the survival of of humankind, it's absolutely critical that we get beyond, beyond the solar system. It's absolutely critical because the solar system is limited, to, a few more billion years. So, or tens of billions of years. I'm not even sure what the timelines are. So, I mean, we're talking about things that we mere mortals living in our short time span can't contemplate. But I put myself in the same position as Aristotle. I put myself in the shoes of Aristotle, and I think about what he was unable to contemplate, and I now realize that that we are just mere Aristotles, not able to contemplate where the human spirit may take us next.
All right. Well, you may have begun to see that what I'm doing here is trying to get inside the mindset of some of the people on Wall Street. We know that Wall Street gets it wrong with Tesla all the time. And right now we would probably both be agreeing that they're getting it wrong with Nvidia. But I want to keep this idea alive by taking another tack of what I think Wall Street is thinking. So 2 years ago, we had a lithium crisis. Elon Musk was like, "Oh, we need find me lithium. I'll buy all the lithium and batteries. We need more batteries." Well, today lithium is beaten down badly. Now, isn't the risk of at least temporary imbalances between compute demand and supply likely?
There's permanent and constant imbalances.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I mean, you obviously did not listen or read what I wrote about lithium supplies. I remember Jordan Giesiger, our go-to guy on batteries and battery technology, wrote a piece on how lithium supplies were constrained and the mine in Australia was not going to be online fast enough and the whole world was going to run out of lithium. And I wrote a piece and said, not going to happen. I grew up financially, economically in South Africa. I spent my years from my 20s to my 30s building businesses in South Africa. And South Africa was all about mining, and mining was all about running out of gold and, gold going through $20,000 and blah, blah, blah. And, I learned that there's almost an unlimited supply of everything. That's it. There's an unlimited supply of everything, whether it's oil, gold, lithium, you name it. When when prices rise, supplies become elastic, period. There is an unlimited supply of almost all the minerals on Earth. And for those minerals for which there's no supply, there's a substitute. So that's just the reality. And so this whole notion that there's a limit to things, and there's a limit to the human spirit, it's a faulty notion.
All right. So, but again, coming back to this idea of imbalances in supply and demand, somebody on Wall Street might not be dumb to think, hey, 3 years from now, 2 years from now, a year from now, uh, Google's TPUs, Facebook, whatever they go by now, Meta's new chip that they're working on, Tesla's chips that they're working on, other people coming into the marketplace, and or more supply, at least for a while, than there is demand to fill it, could, for a season, dampen NVIDIA's overall game plan.
We're some years away from that. I mean, we're so far away from that it's not of any consequence right now, but it is Wall Street thinking, and it's an opportunity, which is, I mean, I don't want to give advice, and I don't want to talk about my strategy, but I'm slowly accumulating Nvidia, just as I continue to accumulate Tesla. Nvidia is at the beginning of a cycle, not at the end of a cycle. Pardon?
All right. So anyway, I think this is what the market's reacting to.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Last week was classic. This week we're seeing sort of leavening off of that. But I mean, it's such short-term thinking because it's so early in this process. So
I think market, everybody, we all end up, if we're not paying some attention to our gut, then we're probably not very good at investing. That's just my feeling. It's not all numbers. You got to have a gut feeling. Like you and I both have, I'm sure, gut feelings about Elon Musk, Tesla, etc. But I do think that the gut feeling on a lot of people, especially those who don't have the bandwidth to truly understand NVIDIA. I mean, I stay straight up. I didn't invest in NVIDIA 12 months ago because I didn't understand NVIDIA. I think I said it on this channel. I may have said it to you, is that I didn't fully understand NVIDIA. I didn't really understand what it was that they were making. And so there truly are, I'm sure, people on Wall Street that are in that category. A lot of them probably, because it's a complex set of capabilities as well as
yeah, I plead guilty. I mean, I held NVIDIA for 6 or 7 years, from about 2011 to 2022, 10 years, 11 years. And I sold it at the height of the bubble. And that was a bubble in 2020, late 2021, early 2022. That was a huge bubble.
Economic bubble, yeah.
An economic bubble. And I sold everything in the middle of that bubble because I thought, there's no way, the world is not going to end. Everybody's going to go back to normal and blah, blah, blah. So I sold out. Where I made my huge mistake is I failed to buy back my whole portfolio other than Tesla. Well, Tesla I didn't sell because thankfully in Tesla I was in leaps. But anyway, the point is that I didn't replace my entire portfolio. And so I sold Amazon, I sold Nvidia, I sold my Microsoft, I sold a lot of stocks. And it looked like a good move at the time. But, we've surpassed that high or that bubble or that peak or whatever it was. And so I would have been much better off to have held on to my portfolio as a whole. Now, I did okay-ish because I realized my leaps before they expired. I reinvested to a large degree in Tesla, and but I never bought back into Nvidia, and I never bought back into Microsoft, never bought back into Amazon. And those three counters would have made a huge impact, on my portfolio as a whole.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a mistake, but one learns from one's mistakes, even in one's late 70s.
That's well said. All right, I'm going to completely change subjects now. The other big subject going on over the weekend has nothing well, it has something to do with Tesla, but it's more general, and that is, do you have a take on the current negotiations on the Russia-Ukraine situation?
Look, I'm a very strong anti-Putin.
Right.
I regard Putin as a throwback to the worst of the Russian dictators, tsars, dictators, which is a nice word for what I really wanted to call him. And I regard Russia as having, become a dictatorship, a militant dictatorship, trying to recreate the great height of the Russian Empire, which was achieved in the 80s, in the late 70s, early 80s. And I regard him as a blight upon the land. The Russians, I'm a student of Russian history, so a very large percentage of the books back there are all about Russia and Russian history. The Russians are a very great people, very great. They have produced some of the greatest literasts, mathematicians, thinkers, philosophers, and scientists. At the same time, they're also one of the cruelest empires that ever existed, far crueler than the Nazis, far crueler than Genghis Khan. Cruelty comes with their dictatorships. What we have now is one of the cruelest of the dictators. I mean, he will certainly take his place in the pantheon with Stalin, Peter, not Peter the Great, sorry, I should really say. Anyway, the point is he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
Ukraine is a country that's trying to stand up and turn west. It's trying to take the very best of what is Russia, and Ukraine has always been the very best of what is Russia. Ukraine has always been the intellectual heart of the Russian Empire. And Ukraine has to detach itself from the Russian Empire in order to reach its full potential. Look, Ukraine was part of one of the greatest countries of Earth during the time, of the Holy Roman Empire. Ukraine was the center of it because, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Belarus, Romania, it was all one huge empire, the Polish-Lithuanian Empire. And it was a very important state, and it was very important in the sort of, in that middle Reformation period. So Ukraine's struggling to be free of this terrible, terrible Russian history. And Ukraine was the center, was the very heart of and gave birth to the Russian Empire. But it was the Dukes of Muscovy of Moscow that turned it into this militant, sort of merciless empire. Anyway, so my heart is with the Ukrainians, but they cannot win this war. They cannot win this war, even if the United States and Europe give them whatever arms they desire, because Russia will grind on. They will find a way, and China and Korea will support them to the death of the Russian Empire. Why? Because it pays China to allow Russia to bleed the West dry. And China has the means to do it in the short term, in the short to medium term. So my analysis is that Trump is doing the right thing.
Okay.
And I think this is a good time to negotiate, and I think they can negotiate a deal. They have to negotiate a deal that allows Europe to stand up and provide Ukraine with the necessary defense. Yes, Ukraine will lose the Donbass. They've lost the Donbass, or
they've lost the Donbass.
A large proportion, not all of it.
Right.
But they retain, what they retain is certainly sufficient. And if they keep the coastline, and if they keep control of the Black Sea, which they have been able to, then they will keep their oil assets. And they will become a great nation, even with the loss of the Donbass. After all, the Donbass is simply an industrial center, which is really, it's been destroyed. The industrial center has been destroyed. And the industrial center in Ukraine is going to move west. Bottom line is, I think Trump is doing the right thing. I didn't support him a year ago in what he was doing. But the reality is that Putin is going to continue. Now, there is an argument to be made, and I accept that there is an argument to be made, that if America would put in another couple of $100 billion, maybe even $1 trillion, if the West would put in $1 trillion, they may be able to drive Russia to the point of a revolution in Russia. That's not an argument that I think we should be making at this point. I think it's a very dangerous argument. Russia led to that kind of length, that kind of depth. It's a very, very dangerous, very, very dangerous, country. They have nuclear weapons. They've talked a lot about resorting to them. And if they actually fall down that precipice, I think they will definitely turn to them. I think from Putin's point of view, this is his life's commitment, and he will take whoever he has to take with him to the depths of hell to achieve his goal. So if they can get a peace that, loses Ukraine what they've already lost. Look, in the last year, Russia gained 1% of Ukraine. But Ukraine's hurting very badly at the moment. Anyway, I know a lot of friends of mine who had the same view of me as I did a year ago are going to be disappointed in my perspective. But that's my perspective right now.
All right. Well, Larry, in case I haven't already given you heavy, heavy lifting here, I want to take us now to healthcare.
Oh, my
Because
God.
over the weekend, the president has thrown out two different proposals.
Yeah.
Nothing official yet. He hasn't said it out loud. He hasn't put it on Truth Social. He hasn't put together a bill yet, but he's got two proposals that he's been floating out there. One that would create health savings accounts, and the other that would create a 2-year subsidy extension, which would temporarily extend the ACA premium subsidies, but with new limits on how that would work. So what are you thinking right now about these two proposals, or about what you think might happen over, because theoretically you got to have this thing done by, what is it, January 3rd or something, before you run out of time again.
Nothing is more important to our fiscal survival than healthcare. But like education, I don't think it I don't think a little bit of tinkering at the edges are going to make an improvement. I think it's just going to spend more money. Like Social Security, like healthcare. Healthcare needs a major overhaul. And unless that major overhaul is accomplished during this presidency or a potential Republican presidency subsequent to this, I fear for our country's survival economically.
How do you see AI impacting that? A lot of people talk about technology as being the solution to air pollution or to even global warming. They talk about technology being the solution to our inner city blight as we eliminate so many cars from the road. And so some people are saying, hey, the solution, I think Kathy Wood even would probably say the solution to healthcare is to get the cost of the actual delivery of healthcare down by using technology.
Cost of delivery is tending towards zero. The charge for delivery is tending towards infinity.
So what about the healthcare savings system then, where people would buy their healthcare direct and make decisions based on a true, what do you want to call it?
Direct from whom? Who are they going to buy it direct from? The doctor?
Hospitals.
The doctors don't practice independently anymore. They work for these hospital systems.
Right.
They have to buy them from the hospital systems. The hospital systems are the problem. Look, the problem is the system is corrupt from the bottom to the top. The customer has to buy from them, no matter who funds them, whether it's the federal government or their own pockets or their employer. The problem is these so-called not-for-profit hospital systems that charge these gigantic amounts of money for what they deliver, and the cost of that delivery is falling all the time. But they're finding ways to add cost, add layers of administration, add all kinds of safety precautions, add all kinds of overhead, add all kinds of not-for-profit administrators. It's like the schools.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if the federal government gave everybody a voucher for, whatever it is that's costing us today, $10,000 per student, education would reform itself overnight.
Well, that's what the president's suggesting. So let me just take you down a quick road. I paid a lot of attention last year when you did your white paper and when you talked about it on my channel with regard to healthcare. And you said in North Carolina, you could walk into the hospital and the insurance company would charge you $6,000 for a hip. You could go out the front door, go down the street, and find an independent supplier, an independent proprietor who would give you that hip for $600.
Not in North Carolina.
Not in North Carolina anymore.
Because in North Carolina, like 30 other states, I forget the number. We'd have to check with the actual numbers, and I have a friend who can tell us the exact number. But it's illegal to open another clinic. So in other words, it's not illegal. You have to get approval. Who do you get approval from? From a committee. Who runs the committee?
Answer, right. All right, but you're a small state. You're a small state, Larry. You could go across the border to Virginia. You could go across.
Like 35 states are run by monopolists. The monopolists are the Blue Cross Blue Shields.
All right, so you go to Mexico or Italy for vacation surgery.
Well, that may be, but I bet you the United States government is not going to give you money to do that.
Well, if it's a healthcare savings plan, if the idea is the money goes to you and goes into a healthcare that you manage, then how does the government determine what you spend it on?
You tell me that you can take that money to fly to buy a first class airfare to Italy? It's not going to happen, my friend.
Get my hip in Italy.
It's not going to happen, my friend. They will never, this government will never give you money to fly to Italy to get your hip replaced.
Well, okay. So I wanted to hear what you were thinking, but I'm very intrigued because, there are people that have, in fact, there is already some federal legislation with regard to healthcare savings plans. I don't know if it's still in place or not, but there are people that have
Ah,
told,
you can establish a healthcare savings plan tomorrow.
right. And there's
But the
also
system
co-op.
is still, the system remains what it is. You have, people charge whatever they want to charge without any transparency. You have, these gigantic monopolies in drugs, and it's even worse, not even the drug companies, but the intermediaries
Mhm.
between the drug companies and whoever dispenses that drug to you. It's huge monopolies, and they add, gigantic amounts to the price of the drugs. And then you have these huge combines that actually provide the healthcare services that add gigantic amounts of money to the price. And then you have doctors' practices that now belong to these monopolies, and the doctors can't practice independently because it's become economically adverse for them. They have to invest huge amounts of money in, a monopoly software product that belongs to one company that's like the most government captured, company in the world, and it epic. I mean, it's like layer upon layer upon layer upon layer, and then the doctor can't practice medicine. They have to practice computer,
Yeah, 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 yes, yes.
guided responses. So you've got to break like 5 or 6 principal issues. You got to destroy 5 or 6 sort of structures, and the one is kind of built upon the
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then you have to clear that detritus away, and you have to go back to first principles. And I don't know how you do that. It's like education. It's like you have to
Yep.
stop this government payment out to the states and to the universities, and stop handing money to the universities via the poor students and have the students pay that back forever and the rest of their lives. 2 things you have to do. 3 things you have to do. You have to reform Social Security, you have to reform healthcare, and you have to reform education. And those 3 things are really what is hampering this country. And the truth of that is that these 3 things have been created since, Johnson came to power, in the late 60s, or in the mid 60s, until, we finally got rid of Carter and put an end to it. But it's what they created has just been accruing layer upon layer upon layer, and it's killing the country.
All right, Larry. So I hope that I haven't, completely overwhelmed your brain. I know you've got a big one, but I wanted to, I just was like, oh my gosh, these seem like all at once. Today was just like this huge news day, and I think it's going to be like this for a while. We'll get a break at Thanksgiving, but the president seems to be firing on all cylinders right now, and
Well,
we could be looking at a lot of
let's
change.
stipulate this president has been the most active, the most vital president since Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And maybe beyond, maybe even more so than Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because he's only got 4 years to do it in. And he's moving, mountains, but so much depends upon who follows up and how deep they're able to cut, and not cut to reduce costs, but cut to reduce bureaucracy, cut to reduce, this incredible layer of bureaucracy and not for profit, so-called not for profit, you know, edifices that are killing our country.
Okay, so let's start with Tesla in the after hours.
How are we doing?
We're doing fine, but it's just up another 0.14. We were actually over 20 today, over 420 at about 421 and a half. Right now we're at 418.37. So, but I would be, based on history, trying to predict Tuesday. It's not a wise thing.
Why do we care about Tuesday when we're looking for Tesla 2000 in, 2028, 2027, 2020? Who cares?
Some of the people who watch the show like that. But anyway, all right.
Yeah, but I will only make one point.
Yes, yes.
If you're trying to accumulate Tesla for that,
Yeah,
huge hit, and I'm saying 2000, I'm just using a number.
yeah,
It could be 1500, it could be 3000. It's going to be a lot.
right.
What does it matter if it's like 418,
Just
420,
buy.
400, 380, what does it matter?
Yeah,
If you can accumulate it at a lower number, you're going to buy more shares.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for that. Exactly, 100%. In fact, I've already said that unfortunately my ability to really buy significant amounts again isn't till next July, but I don't think we can hold Tesla down to 400 until next July.
Could be. You could.
Whatever it is at the time, it will still be a fraction of what it's going to be. Larry, the very, very other good news today. I mean, this is my favorite piece. I mean, that's not my favorite, but it's really good news. We've got the bonds, the 10 years down to 4.03. We are
Come
very,
on, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about 3.9, 3.95.
but
So
then it went back up to 4.1.
I know, that's my point.
Yes, but now we're getting close down into the threes again.
And we could go up to the fours again.
Well, but what happened, of course, and the other big news,
Yeah.
on Friday was, we got the news. I guess it's all having to do with Miller, Williams, saying, "Hey, I think we should cut." And after that, we now have a 70% chance of a cut or whatever. So I think that's why the 10-year is obviously
Yeah,
down.
and it's amazing that the people who so truculently oppose Trump are trying to blare out the news. Oh, inflation's at 3%. Well, of course it's not. Everybody knows it's not. And they're trying to say that. And the truth of the matter is that, we've done a really good job of the finances of the country and the economics of the country compared to where we were a year ago.
Right.
I think this president, in the year that he's been in power, has made some big changes. He's changed the conversation on the United States being an open country while all its trading partners have got various degrees of close. And he said, look, guys, we've tried all these years. You won't open your economies. We'll close ours. And the reciprocation has been great. And, Canada's going to suffer very badly. I mean, Canada, I'd hate to be one of my Canadian friends at this point. Anyway, sorry.
Yep.
Sorry to
Okay.
interrupt.
Nope, that's good. That's good. Oil, really flat today, 58.92, staying under $60.
Do you remember a year or so ago, we were saying, if we could get under 80, if we could just get below 80, do you remember that?
Absolutely. So now, but now we're actually having a different problem, and the different problem is nobody's going to drill. Nobody's going to
Too
drill.
low.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. So we need it to come up just a little bit, Larry. I know
It's going to come up. It's going to come up because economic activity is going to pick up. If the war ends, if the war in Ukraine ends, I think that economic activity globally is going to increase quite dramatically.
Well, I think economic activity is already going to increase in the first quarter because we've got that massive, massive amount of money that's going to hit from the big, beautiful bill as people get their refunds back. So everything else being equal, everything else just continuing along at 3%, GDP growth, maybe 2.5, 3%, whatever. But then you layer on all kinds of people that make tips, all kinds of people that make overtime, Social Security beneficiaries, and big and small businesses, all going to change their tax status as well as get a refund much more than they're expecting.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay. So then we've got the natural gas continues to be my big concern. President, are you listening to me? We got to find a way to deal with natural gas. Still sitting at 450, down a little bit in the pre-market, but that 450 is kind of where it's been. I don't know the solution there other than buying it from Russia. But if we get a peace deal, maybe we can.
I don't think Europe should buy from Russia, even if we get a peace deal.
They're already buying it from Russia. That's the joke. That's what
They
the
should
club is
stop.
saying to them. What are you talking about, guys? How can you continue to fight a war with these guys when you're supplying them with the funds to fight the war? Oh my goodness gracious. All right, Larry, you see now I'm going to give you another chance now. Okay, on gold. So gold is eking its way, it's inching its way back up again, even though the dollar is up. The dollar has gone up 6%. The gold is sitting at 41.25 again, so it's heading back towards that 4,400.
I don't think it gets there.
Okay, all right.
I think it's had its day.
It's had its day. I agree with you 100%. Silver, $51.16. That's up strongly. Copper, $4.99. It's almost exactly where it's been for a while. Now I'm hearing, Larry, this is one to pay attention to. Copper, which had the mine problem. Now they're saying we got the opposite problem. There's too much inventory, tons and tons and tons, too much inventory in the United States. And so we could be looking at this situation reversing fairly soon. So
That's a good thing, not a bad thing.
that's true. That's true. All right. We've got the dollar. I just said it was wonderful, but it is down a little bit in the pre-market. Bitcoin is up a little today, back to 88,510. So now there's a lot of naysayers out there, Larry. A lot of people jumping a little bit ready to jump ship on Bitcoin. And I know
Good time to buy.
it's a good time to buy when the naysayers are getting stronger. Ethereum actually up 4.88% today.
I'm not a buyer of any
Any
coins of any nature whatsoever. I've never really been an investor.
right.
I don't. It's not that I don't understand it. I don't believe in it.
Yeah,
I don't
I know.
see the transition happening. It's unclear to me how the transition happens, and anything that's based upon technology, places itself in jeopardy. Because if we learned one thing, technology always supersedes itself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will have another technology, that's for sure. Pre-market on the equities, all kind of, I would call it unch to borrow from our friend Bradford Ferguson, UNCH, unchanged. So I mean, it's 0-0 on the Dow,
Bunch of unch.
a bunch of unch, 0-2 on the S&P and 0-2 on the NASDAQ. So I guess people made all the money they wanted to make today. Where did the VIX end up? That's a good question to ask. The VIX ended up at 20.52.
Still above 20.
Still above 20. Yeah. So it's still a little bit risk off, I think. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Any words of wisdom you want to tell people? Any more reasons to buy the book, buy the book, buy the book?
Buy the book to understand this is not a bubble.
There you go.
This is a launch.
This is so much. I think it will explain that. I think
It
you're right.
does.
I think it
Yeah.
does. I think it does in spades.
It's very, very optimistic. It points to, a future that Elon calls unlimited, but it does so with a lot of logic and a lot of, the arguments are very sound. So buy the book.
We had a very long review today, Larry, that gave us only 3 stars. It's like one of the few. We've only had 3 that were under 5 stars, but this one at least he gave a lot of detail, and he said he loves all of us. He listens to us and whatnot. But I just wanted to let you know that you were mentioned, and so he said that I was a gifted writer, and so were you. Yeah.
That's interesting. But he disagreed with my perspective.
He didn't say anything about your perspective, but he didn't. He
Oh,
didn't.
so who did he disagree? How did he? What did
He
you
was.
disagree?
He loved Bradford's chapter. He said he thought we were too redundant, and I explained in the introduction we were going to be redundant because we were going to be crossing over one another. And he didn't think. He didn't think that. What did he say about CERN? He said CERN's not a future, not a visionary. And I'm like, I don't know. he's, that I thought that was kind of maybe okay, but he, praised it.
I'll have to read the review. I'll have to read the review because it sounds like a thoughtful review,
It was a
which
thoughtful review.
interests me, yeah.
All right, Larry, as always, of course, love having you on. And to all of you folks out there, it's been great talking to you.